Okay, let's have a look at the float. Now, we've spoken very briefly about the rod. It's got a responsive tip. Now, I'm going to ask the question. This line is green and it's very, very stiff. It's almost, well, I can feel actually movement transmitting through that as I'm plucking it. This is braid.
Yeah.
Now, is braid essential for marker float work?
Absolutely essential.
Why?
There's no stretch in braid whatsoever.
Okay.
So every little lump, bump, bit of gravel, bit of weed, whatever you roll that lead over or into is going to be transmitted up the line.
Okay, and this goes back through the line to the tip, and obviously holding the rod, you're feeling that.
Yeah.
Now, is there a particular way that you should hold the rod when you're looking for these marks?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is to hold the rod to the side. Once you've made the cast,
so you're pulling back like this, basically.
Yeah, pulling to the side, and what that does, if you pull up, you're pulling the lead off the bottom all the time. Pulling to the side is keeping the lead flush on the bottom, and then you can feel the different textures.
Okay. Now, the setup at the bottom end looks pretty simple, really. I mean, the float is buoyant, obviously. There's a lead on there, and we'll go to the boom in a second. But let's just look at how we pay this line off. So you've made the cast, the lead has landed on the bottom, and then the float obviously wants to take on that buoyancy action, but it can't until you release line.
Yeah.
Now, I notice you've got marks on the rod here.
Yeah.
Now, these are indicators for the depth.
Yeah.
So if you pay off some line, so that's 1 foot of line, this float is going to rise 1 foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you're counting as you go, and then that's 2 foot, and then 3 foot, 4 foot until the float rises.
Okay. What are you actually looking for on the bottom? I mean, we hear a lot of talk about gravel bars and gravel spots and silt wells, and I mean, is there a holy grail of a spot?
There probably is for me, actually, Martin, but yeah, well, let's talk about gravel pits first and foremost, because you're probably going to find the most features in a gravel pit. Depending on the way they've dug will depend on the severity and height of those features. A gravel bar is just simply an area of gravel that's been left while they've dug out the rest of it. I love to fish the silt behind gravel bars. There's a reason for that, and I'll briefly explain. Gravel bars are invariably raised above the general depth of the lake, whether it's 2 foot, 3 foot, whatever. Now, if I go and put bait around that feature, round boilers is a typical example. What are they going to do? They're going to roll down to the foot of the bar. Now, first and foremost, I think most of the natural food collects in those areas of silt at the base of a bar, and secondly, so does all the bait that people are introducing, so it's the obvious place to put it. So I'd cast out the marker first and foremost, and then I'll have a general feel around, just get a feel for it, and something might take my eye. First thing I'd do, it'll take my fingers if you like, is put the line into the line clip once I've found something.
Right, now what happens if your reel doesn't have a line clip?
You really need to find a reel that's got a line clip on it.
Okay.
They are absolutely vital. That ensures when I cast again that I'm bang on that spot that gave me the little bit of interest. So then I'm back on it. Now I may well find it'll just be silt, and you'll just get a smooth feeling as you draw the lead across it. And then all of a sudden you'll feel the first tap of gravel. Let the marker float up and check the depth. Take note of the depth. So it may be, let's say, 8 foot. And then I drag it up the gravel, or maybe even across it, but we're talking about gravel bars here. So I'm dragging it up. Not a big sweep of the rod. Just take it easy, a couple of foot at a time, and then just let it up again. And if it's a bar, then the next reading you take may be 5 foot. You do it again, and it might be 4 foot. You do it again, and it's dropped off your side of the gravel bar, and you're back into 6s, 7s, and 8s again. So there's your feature. Your line's in your clip, so you can get back to it, and then you can investigate in a little bit more detail then once you've actually found the feature you're looking for.
Okay. Now, is there a set in stone depth scenario? I mean, you're talking about the gravel bar. If you're casting over the top of the bar and coming back from beyond the bar, if you like, if you've got 5 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 2 foot, I mean, is that a good fishing situation, or are you looking for a level area?
I'm not necessarily looking for a level area. I'm personally trying to find the base of those
looking
bars.
For that silt.
That's what I'm looking for. I mean, you can cast out and drag your lead, the lead you're actually fishing with, and drag it up the bar, and that means you'll be fishing at varying depths, 8 foot at the bottom of the bar, and say 4 foot halfway up it. Right. First and foremost, you're covering a bigger area. You know, if you've got patrolling fish high in the water going along the bar, then they may well, you know, take out of curiosity a bait presented halfway up it. If you know, I will encourage them to feed at the base of that bar, and so I will have a hook bait there.
Okay. Just going back to the float momentarily. I mean, the little boom on the bottom. Is there any purpose for this additional boom here? I mean, I've seen various different setups whereby the lead is on, you know, running on a ring straight on the bottom of the braid. But you have a small boom here. Is that there for a set purpose at all or not?
I've found by not having a boom section, you very often get tangles and the marker float won't rise to the surface. Right. So that is primarily there so that I can ensure the marker float will come up every time. I don't want to waste casts and then I've got to reel it in, sort it out, recast it. So that boom's there to stop tangles. It's also when you're fishing areas with chod, lots of diatrus on the bottom, leaves, old weed or whatever, that will ensure that the marker float will rise to the surface.
So this is sitting in the chod and waste on the bottom, if you like, and it's allowing the float that freedom of movement.
Exactly, and always remember that you've got 6 inches, or you know, ensure you know there's about 6 inches of there when it comes to reading.
So you have to add that. So if you're measuring off 4 foot on there, it's 4 foot 6 with the boom, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a pretty basic setup, isn't it, at the end of the day? But it can get you a lot of bites if you use it properly.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Okay. I mean, are the floats important at all? I mean, it looks pretty bulk standards to me. I mean, it's got a coloured top on it, which I would imagine you could see at range.
They are very important. I mean, first and foremost, we'll talk about visibility. And most marker floats come now with different colour heads, so you can actually see it at range. You know, a black one when there's a lot of wind on the water is rippled and looks silvery, shows up really, really well, for instance. So yeah, a float with an interchangeable head is absolutely ideal.
Okay. What about size? I mean, do they need to be a certain size to cast the distance required, or?
Yeah. Now let's get into some nitty-gritties then about the actual setup. Can I start with the lead here?
Yes.
Because I very often see people, and sometimes they're useful, most of the times I don't think they are. You can have very, very small marker floats for subtly finding holes, you know, close in or whatever. But what very invariably happens, don't use a very big lead because you're being subtle. Right. And a smaller lead will tell you less about the bottom of the lake. Right. Than a big one. So I use as big a lead as I can possibly get away with.
So when it's coming back across the bottom, it's important to have the weight there to get this.
Yeah, to get the reading through the line.
Get the reading.
Exactly. The float itself, I like nice slim ones because they fly better. I can get far better distance.
So it's built for aerodynamics, basically.
Yeah, it's a very aerodynamic sound.
And the tops, as you say, I mean, these just come off and you can change them over to suit the conditions. Okay. Do you ever use more than one marker float? I mean, most of us nowadays fish with either 2 or 3 rods. If you've found a nice prime spot for one of your rods, what are you going to do as regards the other 2 rods? Are you using the same marker rod?
Yeah, what I will do, my whole carp fishing, the ethos revolves around mobility. If they're not feeding in one place that I'm fishing, then they'll be somewhere else feeding and I want to go and find them. So I don't want lots and lots of rods and lots of stuff to pack away and carry around. So yes, I use one, but what I will do is mark the line on the rod. Right. Now, once I've found a spot for one rod, and then I've obviously got to get on with another one. I've got to take it out of the clip. Yes. But as I take it out of the clip, I put a little bit of electrical tape, fold it over it, rub it down firm, and it will stay there. And then when I want to go back to that spot, I can do so. I can cast out, put it in, you know, relatively near to the marker, and then away you go. No problem.
Okay. We'll come back to you shortly because I want to look at, obviously, once you've located your spot or the area that you feel happy with, you then go into the introduction of feed and a hook bait, and we use another tool for that, the spod, which we'll come back to. What I want to do is I've got Mark Hutchinson further up the bank who's fishing at the moment. Now Mark's a renowned distance seeker at the end of the day. He fishes extreme ranges and his setup is probably going to differ slightly from yours. So we're going to check Mark's setup, let you get on with your fishing for a second, and we'll rejoin you in a minute.
Okay, I'll have one in the bag for you later.
We'll come back to Chilly in a second and we'll look at how he applies the feed to the spot that he's found. But just for a minute, we're going to pop up and see Mark and see how he's doing.